So I've gone ahead and I've put my birch poles into my pot. I just twist them in, and for me I'm putting them more or less in the middle. And this is where you need to think about where someone is going to see your pot, because this is going to make a bit of a difference depending on whether you're seeing it only from the front, meaning it's right in front of your house or on your porch and no one is going to be seeing it behind, or whether it's going to be out further, maybe at the side of the road or at the step or near the base of your stairs. So think about that. So here's your choices. If people will see it on more than one side, maybe part of the side or coming around, you'll want to sort of center your arrangement so that there's something of interest to look at all around. Now, if you plan to only see it from the front, you can move your poles further to the back of your pot and give you a bit more room to create your focal point in the front. So that's your choice. So our next step, once we get our poles in, and and consider how you want them stepped, by the way. I would think about a higher one and then a middle, and you want to kind of zigzag them a little bit so that they're not all on the same plane. All right, so some are a little further forward and some are a little further back. Now what I'm going to do next is I'm going to start putting some greens in, and I'm going to put them all around the collar, right? So I want some greens all around the edge of my pot. And I want to choose some things that I know are going to hang over, but I also want to choose the things that are the most plentiful, the things that I have the most of, and use those first, and save some of my fancier greens for being on the outside where they'll be more visible. So I'm going to start with some of my jack pine because it's got a beautiful look to it. So remember, we're working with natural materials here, so not everything is going to be exactly the way you want it. And you have to try to get the most out of each branch. We don't want to kill trees unnecessarily, so you want to use it all if you can. So I suggest, I'm using floral bunch cutters, but you could also use clippers if you have something that you use for trimming your hedges. And I want you to think about the center here, that everything is going to be going into the center. All right, so you want to angle everything so it looks like it's going into the same spot. You don't want to be having things go straight into the pot around it. You want to go in on an angle so it looks like it's all starting from the same spot. So I'm just going to start adding some pieces. And in the soil, it's dry. I haven't put any water in the soil. I've got it nice and dry. And so if I change my mind, it's a real easy change, which is part of why I like the soil better than I like using chicken wire, because it's a little bit harder to get materials out once you've got them set up. So you're just going to keep on clipping. Now have a look at the piece. So have a look at each branch and decide which way does it look like it wants to go. So don't force it to go away that it's not natural. So this one has a natural bend out, so I'm going to take advantage of this. And this one has a natural bend going the other way, so I'm going to use this one on the other side. All right? So don't fight with the greens. Let them decide what they want to do, and then just take it the way they want to move. Sometimes you have a piece like this, and you don't have enough left to put on them. So you may have to trim off a little branch or two to get it in the way you want. Now I keep these for later because I can use these on small arrangements that I make in the house with some fresh flowers. So don't throw anything out. It'll be handy later on. And I'm going to continue in this path until I have everything around my collar. All right, so here we are. I've done some work around the collar, and I've been focusing on some pieces that are going to bend and move. It's by far not filled in yet, and we're going to add some more. And you want to be walking around your piece and look for balance and look for whether or not it's higher or lower or out farther, that kind of thing. All right? So once we have our collar and we have our main sticks, now we want to add a little bit of green with some height. Not as high as our sticks for sure, but we want to get in here and fill in this gap. And this is where you may want to choose a piece that's got a bit more fullness. So I'm going to choose this piece of noble fir, but obviously this is a bit too high, so I'm going to be trimming. Now sometimes people aren't sure what to do with all of this when the needles grow right off the main bough. So I'm just going to give it a trim. It'll go into the soil a lot easier if I pull these off. And so if you want to wear gloves, that's fine, but this is such a soft fir that I really don't need to. So I'm going to strip those extra needles away that are going to go down into the soil, and it just makes the insertion a whole lot easier. And so I want to get it down in here to get me some height and get me some green. All right? While while I'm doing this, I'm thinking about where I want my focal point to be, where my flowers and cones and other things might go, because I have to keep that space in mind and leave a space for some of those things to go. You never want to have a focal piece without some greens behind it, so keep that in mind as you work. All right? All right, let's add some more stuff. So as you can see, things are starting to fill in. I just keep adding at that angle as if everything's going to the center, mixing my greens, getting a nice full look. So far I haven't used any of my really fancy greens. So now I want to use some of this beautiful Western red cedar to give me some nice movement and some of my incense cedar. Sometimes people aren't sure quite what to do when they get a branch of this size. But what you'll notice is for this kind, you have many branches that you can use individually. And so you can just go along and cut them and put them in individually. Never try to put a really large branch in. You'll want to make the most of each piece until you get toward the end where you have it in one solid piece. But many of these side branches can be cut off and used separately. So I have a few ready to go here. So this is what this might look like. Now remember, nothing needs to be perfect. Nothing is perfectly symmetrical, and these are natural materials. And so just enjoy working with these kinds of things, and don't worry about if it doesn't look exactly the way you want. All right? You'll get lots of satisfaction knowing you made it yourself. So I'm going to start putting these in, and these are going to give me some beautiful movement. This is a nice wide one, so I'm going to get this one up into the middle here because it's going to be able to stand. This is such a nice big pot that it'll be able to hold lots and lots of things. And I want people to see this the Western red cedar, so I don't want to hide it. So I want to get it out on top. So I've left it till now. Let's see. Don't forget to put things at the back. The back gives you depth. If everything is falling forward, it'll look like the whole arrangement is going to fall forward. So you need to add some things at the back to make it look like there's things behind it. So don't forget, and sometimes you can use your less pretty pieces if you like, some of the pieces that you've saved that you couldn't figure out where to put. And you can also use your branches to help you to support things like this one because it's kind of got a bit of droop. Okay, I'm getting close. I feel like we're getting almost ready to add a bit more. All right, so you're going to stand back and have a look at it. I think I'd like one nice piece of cedar coming right over the top. And I feel like this one might be just a little bit too long. So I'm going to see if I can push it in any further. All right, there we go. So let me get this nice piece. Here's a beautiful piece here we're going to use. And I want this coming right over the front. I might pull a couple of these off just to get a nice piece. All right. Get it nicely deep into the soil. The nice thing is this is going to freeze in the winter. Like all of these pieces are going to stay exactly where you put them, and they'll stay nice and moist, and these greens will stay beautiful for months and months and months. And that's one of the reasons I like the soil. All right, I think we're just about there. If you feel like you want a bit more here, wait until after you put maybe some more colored sticks in for some height, and then you can decide if you think you want some more.